What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So one of the things that I want to do right now is I want to address the question of, will the $250 to $300 child tax credit payments finally get extended? That's the question that I've been getting a lot lately. I understand millions and millions of children out there are not getting these child tax credit payments because they expired in December. That was when this bill expired. This provision came from the American Rescue Plan, okay, the $1.9 trillion bill that was signed under President Biden. This provision, it extended for 6 months of payments. This was $250 for a child between the ages of 6 and 17, $300 for a child under the age of 6. Here's what I can tell you. As of right now, the Build Back Better Act has been pretty much put on the back burner for Congress. They don't want to fight this right now. They don't want to fight their way through this because they have to work on a voting rights bill. They have to work on a continuing resolution in February. And they're trying to change the filibuster, which they're trying to do before Martin Luther King Day, which is, I believe, January 17th or 18th. But with that said, multiple lawmakers have made a push to get the child tax credit payments extended. They say this is a priority. This is a priority because not only is this impacting children, this is impacting parents and families as well. Here's what I can tell you. The child tax credit payments of $250 to $300 per month. This helped pull about 3 million children out of poverty in the first month's payment. That was back in July. By the end of the 6 months payments, reports indicate that poverty in children dropped by roughly 35%, which is actually a decrease from what Democrats were saying of poverty dropped by 50%. This report says 35%. And the same report is estimating that poverty would drop by 40% in a typical year if payments were to be extended. Whether it's additional 1 year, 2 years, 5 or 10 years, doesn't matter. 40%. That's massive. But here are the facts. The facts are that these payments have helped millions of families and children, but the question remains the same. Who's going to benefit the most from these additional payments? And how will these impact inflation? This is the worry. Some senators, and there's not a handful, but there's one main one, and there's a couple others as well. The main one is Senator Joe Manchin. Senator Joe Manchin is still worried that these payments are going to cause inflation. These payments are going to go to the wrong people. The people will use the money for something that is not geared towards their children. And this is going to cause additional inflation, which eventually will hurt everybody here in the United States, not just people with children. So he wants to see that people that make too much money are not going to get these payments because that's going to cause additional inflation. Experts predict that we could actually have more insights on these payments and whether or not this is going to get extended by next week. Because next week, here's what's going to happen. On Wednesday, we're going to have new inflation data that comes out. This is going to be big because this is going to give us an idea. Are we seeing inflation continue to rise, additional inflation? Or are we going to somewhat see deflation? Are we going to see it drop? Right? That's the question. Currently at 6.8%, which is massive. Some experts, some economists believe we're going to touch 7%. We're going to be up at 7%. So here's what I can tell you that happened today. Senator Michael Bennet, he actually pushed back against Senator Joe Manchin. And he stated that cutting off these monthly tax credit payments to parents is actually just punishing workers. And he goes on to say this, and I quote, "I don't think we should be punishing workers at the moment when 97% of the people who receive the tax credit are working. When there are grandparents, people driving Ubers and Lyfts that may not file W-2s. And here's the reason why this is important, this statement. What we know is the child tax credit payments are supposed to be a monthly payment. They were scheduled to be a monthly payment for 6 months, and then the other 6 months of payments would actually go on to your tax return. It would be a refund. Okay. Well, what about people that don't file? What happens to those additional payments? They don't get it. Well, what is Senator Joe Manchin trying to do? Well, according to reports, he would much rather see we can increase the child tax credit. That's fine. Go from $2,000 and increase it up. But should we take that payment and make a monthly payment, which actually costs money to do and implement? That's the question. So, based off my research, multiple lawmakers have actually considered a standalone bill for these payments. Now, these would most likely go to less people, mainly families who make less than $150,000 per year, which was the current income limit. But the other requirement, and potentially a big one, is a work requirement. Would we see this? Some say that the likelihood of a work requirement being included is actually pretty substantial, because that's the only way Senator Joe Manchin would even go for it. So, at this time, here's where this is more my prediction. Okay? I believe we're probably like a 70, maybe 75% chance that we see the child tax credit payments get extended. Now, I think they're far more likely to get an extension than to see something like paid family leave get included into a bill. The child tax credit payments, they have a pretty big amount of positive data behind it, which is, in my opinion, is going to push the Senate to ultimately get this passed at some point. But just when? We don't know. So here's what I can tell you. Do I think these are going to be extended? Yes, I do. Do I think they'll be extended in January? No, I don't. Do I think they'll be extended in February? It's possible, but most likely March or April. That's my expectation. So that's the news we have today regarding the child tax credit payments. One thing I can tell you at this time is there's still a possibility here. And the possibility of the child tax credit payments, they're not dependent on COVID cases. They're not even dependent on really who's in control in the House and the Senate. And I say this because we know that Senator Mitt Romney from Utah, he was proposing an even bigger child tax credit payment. I think his was like $4,800 per year. You know, we know that Josh Hawley, he was proposing like $1,000 a month. You know, these are Republicans. So just understand that this isn't a partisan bill. This should be a bipartisan bill. And it has bipartisan workings. But when do we see it? I don't know. Who's ultimately going to pass it? We don't know. How much will it be for? We don't know. But I'd assume we're probably between 70 to 75% that this does get extended. So that's what I can tell you at this time. If you have any questions regarding the child tax credit payments, please ask your questions down in the comment section below. Again, I just want to thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.